What's going on, everybody? And welcome to Guns and 2A. Where you can get your latest Second Amendment news and information. And updates on things that are changing and what's going on today. First topic, stupid laws that they're trying to pass. Here's the sound button.
The state of Virginia is an absolute powder keg right now. And if something's going to pop off, it's going to be there. What do I mean? The government's turning on its people. That's what I mean. Stick by, watch the next episode of Guns and Gadgets to get the info.
I got some Guns and Gadgets. Follow and subscribe to his channel also.
Source of Second Amendment News.
He helps.
This is your first time here. Please consider subscribing right now. This is where you're going to get the news on the Second Amendment, good, bad, ugly, or different, pretty much faster than anywhere else. And if any place else covers it at all. A lot of work goes into it here to keep you updated. So consider giving that subscribe to help this channel grow. On to what's going on in Virginia. It is coming from every angle. We already know about the Second Amendment sanctuary cities and counties. That movement has just blossomed. It's taken off like crazy. And it's just a statement to Governor Northam and these new incoming freshman legislators who are all going to be Democrats, just telling them that, you just don't stay off of our rights, do your stupid little job, but you're not taking our rights away.
Right.
And you've had all kinds of stuff happen in the last week. It's been crazy.
Right.
But this is the latest. The Democrats are coming out and showing their true colors. A Virginia Democrat who's a state rep, his name is Jerry Connolly, had this to say regarding police departments or sheriff's departments that refuse to enforce constitutional tyrannical gun control laws that will come in January. He said, quote, "I would hope they either resign in good conscience because they cannot uphold the law which they are sworn to uphold, or they're prosecuted for failure to fulfill their oath." The same oath that these clowns are breaking day in and day out, and they want to rip up the Constitution in January. They forget about their oath, which says to uphold and defend the Constitution, right? But it's okay for them. He continues. He says, "The law is the law. If that becomes the law, you don't have a choice, not if you're a sworn officer of the law."
Is that right?
Well, Representative, you're about to be educated in January. Also, the governor came out and said there will be consequences if police departments and sheriff's departments
trying to put a national law
come January. And we'll stop there. Democrat Virginia Rep.
The dumbest thing I ever heard.
Eachin or McEachen, don't know, don't care, because he sounds like an ass. He said this in regards to Second Amendment sanctuary counties and cities.
I know people in the National Guard. They will
not. The sheriff's department is not going to enforce the law. They're going to lose money. The county's attorneys' offices are not going to have the money to prosecute because their prosecutions are going to go down. Actually, no, there's plenty of crime because laws are supposed to focus on criminals, not law-abiding citizens.
Thank you.
There's plenty of crime going around. They can still keep up exactly what they're doing now. In fact, they should start arresting some of you criminals. Now, the same Bobo McEachen had another bright idea, and that was sending in the National Guard to enforce gun control and to take guns. Now, he said this, I'll quote it. "Ultimately, I'm not the governor, but the governor may have to nationalize the National Guard to enforce the law. That's his call because I don't know how serious these counties are and how severe the violations of law will be, but that's obviously an option he has. And the violations of law would be the violations you all are going to be doing in January on the Constitution. Those ones. Now, if you are a member of the National Guard in Virginia, or you know somebody who is a member of the National Guard in Virginia, please do me a favor. I'll have a right there floating around and in the description. I did a video a couple weeks ago called Oath Breakers versus Oath Keepers, and it was addressing law enforcement with red flag laws. Please send them that video because the National Guard, if this is going to happen, they need to pass that man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror test, and decide what side they're on. Are you on the side of the country and the Constitution, as your oath demands, or are you siding with the tyrants? And if you do that, then you are one of them as well. Now, I'll add that this is the same governor, Governor Northam, who dressed in blackface and said, oh, that was a joke. He vetoed 2 bills that the Republicans had put through to stop sanctuary cities and sanctuary counties for illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. He put a stop to that. See, that's okay. You can be illegal and drain America. You can't be a sanctuary for the law-abiding and Constitution, because that's terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to tell you that if Virginia follows through, or the elitists, they follow through with their threats and their demands, and they force unconstitutional gun control and try to send in the National Guard and pull funding by those who are protecting the rights of their citizens in their counties, there's going to be a whole new experience for them. If it's going to start, the next revolution starts in Virginia. Please pass this along. I hope and pray that all of my brothers and sisters in Virginia get to see this.
Revolution.
I know that you all are prepared to do what's necessary. If I can be of help somehow getting the word out for you, whether it's the Virginia Civil Defense League or any other group, please let me know. I'll also tell you that there's a link in the description to VirginiaConservatives.net, where they have a petition going to recall Governor Northam. Okay, he's violating the Constitution. He's telling you what he's going to do to those who want to protect and serve and enforce and uphold the Constitution like their oaths say. So he needs to be removed. Thank you for your time. I understand that there's a lot going on in Virginia. I am doing my best to keep you up to date as fast as possible. In order to facilitate that, hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that thumbs up button and that bell icon.
Got another one for you.
Said, we all know in law enforcement that one of the biggest reasons that the Senate, Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn and Ted Cruz and others are not getting into a room and having a conference committee with the House and getting the Violence Against Women Act passed. Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, your source for Second Amendment news. Let's talk about low class, or no class, which is worse than low class. Police Chief Art Acevedo, the city of Houston, was speaking to the media this week, and just right after a police officer was shot and killed responding to a domestic violence incident in which he was shot by the male party. In taking questions about the incident, at the conclusion of answering questions, this clown thought that it would be a good time to get on a soapbox and condemn the local politicians. In fact, let me just read you what he said. The chief said, we all know in law enforcement that one of the biggest reasons that the Senate and Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn and Ted Cruz and others are not getting into a room and having a conference committee with the House and getting the Violence Against Women Act passed is because the NRA doesn't like the fact that we want to take firearms out of the hands of boyfriends that abuse their girlfriends. And who killed our sergeant? A boyfriend abusing his girlfriend. He went on to say that this was a result of the cowardice of the political people that we have in office. Now, what Acevedo is talking about here is the Violence Against Women Act. I'll put a link to my video right there. This is something that every 5 years the House of Representatives has repassed, reinstituted, and this is
My favorite thing about banking with Chime is getting my
This is crazy.
Did you hear the story about there was a school or somewhere? I'm sorry, I don't have the city. I just heard it a few minutes ago on Fox News. It's being reported that a school showed a movie, Brokeback Mountain. Remember that gay movie, that homosexual movie, Brokeback? Welcome to the Fallen State. I am Jesse B. Peterson. Today we have a debate on guns and the Second Amendment. I'm really excited to have with me Destiny, the Twitch streamer, a gamer.
You know it.
Personality. And on my left, Vince is back. That's James of the Red Elephant. Do you guys know each other?
I think we've talked before briefly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think briefly on someone's stream, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You like him?
Not really, no.
What do you dislike about it?
I guess we'll get into that today over the gun stuff.
Amazing. So both of you have been on my radio show. It's the first time you've been on the fallen state. So do you believe that human beings are in a fallen state?
Not necessarily, no.
No, you don't believe that? How about you?
I would say yeah. I'd say so.
And what does that mean to be in a fallen state?
To me, and I know you've explained this to me before, and I forget your exact definition, but
Right.
to me, in a fallen state, I guess in the regard that you're putting it in, would be like a fallen spiritual state.
Why you don't believe human beings are in a fallen state? That's so weird.
I mean, weird is subjective. I think we're in an era of
Subjective.
unprecedented
He's a
access to
scientist.
technology.
Say the word subjective. That's a scientific.
Across the world, that we've never seen before. Global conflict seems to be at like a historical low. There's a relative stability around the world. We definitely have problems, but I wouldn't say we're in a fallen state.
Like, who is this?
Amazing. You are a gamer, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
So does that mean you sit around and play games?
Sometimes, yeah.
How old are you?
30 years old.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
You're never going to get a woman playing games.
Aren't you still not married?
Right.
Okay.
But I have women already.
I mean, I don't know if this is relevant to the discussion, but
But I'm just warning you, you're getting old sitting there playing games. They're passing you by.
I'm doing okay. I
Oh.
appreciate the concern, though, Jesse.
Okay. Well, I'll let them know to knock on your door.
No woman.
Any woman that you can find, I don't think I would want at my door, Jesse.
Let's get into the debates about guns and the Second Amendment, all right? What's your stance on gun control?
Take your
there are
guns.
problems
You're gonna allow them to take your
with
guns.
access to firearms in the U.S. today. I think there are a couple of pretty simple changes that we could make to U.S. policy to kind of alleviate some of the problems we have with related to firearms in the U.S. today.
You give me an example of problem with Guns, yeah.
People killing themselves, people killing other people dying.
Can that
children
stop
killing
that?
themselves with firearms, stuff
is it the gun fault?
like that. The gun is like a force amplifier.
What do you mean?
So somebody might have a bad idea or an inclination to do something bad, and a firearm gives you the ability to do more bad than you would otherwise. For instance, if I wanted to go on a killing spree with a knife, I'm probably not going to be able to kill as many people.
That's the biggest lie, because police been killed by knives.
It's interesting
because the
gun that they're talking about
and being shot because
it only
I
kills
could
about
shoot
30 people a year.
I could be shot and still charge at you
would
with a
only
knife.
kill about 30 people a year versus what he mentioned, knives and
We
hammers.
don't talk about
many
how
more people a
guns
year,
would
the
get
FBI.
shot.
So I don't know. It's interesting
And
that
the
the
Germans
gun that
fucking
kills the
want
least
to
amount
kill
of people is the one that they want to ban. But I think that there's more nefarious reasons for that, in my opinion.
Fairly.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Rifles don't kill very many people in the year compared to other types of violence. The most, some of the most exaggerated
Handguns.
violence tends to happen with rifles, like the Las Vegas shooting, for instance. But I mean, there are plenty of school shootings. I think the Virginia Tech shooter, I want to say, used handguns. Right. Handguns, though, are typically or not typically, but they're definitely by far the most deadly firearm for shooting.
Have you ever owned a gun?
Yeah, I have a Glock 17 in a Mosin.
My man,
Have you shot it
you got
before?
a most?
Of course.
You're not afraid of guns, right?
No, definitely.
Okay. And you would never just get up because if you didn't touch your gun, it would never shoot anyone or anything, right?
That's not necessarily true.
Oh my
You're
God.
gonna shoot someone on his own.
Not on its own, but somebody could find the gun. Somebody could break into your house and use the gun. A child could find the gun.
That's amazing. But they can also find a knife. You have knives at home.
They could, but accidentally shooting yourself with a knife or accidentally killing yourself with a knife is probably a lot more difficult to do than with a firearm you found.
Amazing. Do you own a gun?
Yes.
Have you ever shot a gun?
Yes.
And are you afraid of them?
No.
Why do they blame the gun rather than the people?
I think people in general, human beings, are always looking for something to blame something on, right? Because they can't necessarily explain evil. Right? They can't explain something as crazy as someone walking into a school and shooting young innocent children. So humans, I think, inherently want to try to find something to blame, and we're seeing the same exact problem in London right now. So London has banned handguns these days.
Right. Is the gun the problem?
Pretty much for the most part. It's very difficult to
Is the gun the problem?
However, they're
Or
now
is it
putting
the
metal
person?
detectors in schools to detect knives because people are killing each other
With
knives. So they're talking
That
about
is crazy idea.
doctors are calling for knife amnesty programs over there, and they even have knife turning.
Like, this ain't gonna do nothing to nobody.
The police department just did a study, gang study, and they're trying to get
You
rid
try
of
to hurt
me.
Is that something?
Called that study.
You don't want to hurt me.
It determined that the majority of
I'm on my job and I'm doing my security special. That's my police work or whatever you want to call it.
They have a big knife problem there. They just surpassed the murder rate in New York City.
You're good. You're straight. You ain't got to worry about getting shot by my gun. Yeah. Unless you want to hurt me, and then, and only and then.
It's a difficult situation.
This has a mind of its own.
How do you respond?
Yeah, I mean,
You want to
I don't
do
know
harm
if
to
it's evil. I don't think we can legislate against making people not evil. I don't know if I necessarily believe that people kill themselves or kill other people because they're evil. It seems like this is usually pretty predictable based on a set of circumstances related to their environment, whether you have one parent in the household, whether you have access to drugs, depending on where you live, the type of education, your socioeconomic classes, a lot of
socioeconomic class.
I guess you're
socioeconomic.
I mean, I guess it's possible. I notice it's kind of like your theme is to always go back to like demographics and gang violence. I don't know what the
statistics show that's true.
I don't know what the prescription there is. Like, what is the suggestion now?
Economics ties in.
Well, I mean, for instance, Sadiq
geopolitical
Khan in London is reinstituting the stop and frisk that he called
racist.
So he's trying to do whatever. I mean, he's trying to go.
Come in, nigga. I think you got something on you. Come
in London. They have this hashtag Knife
What you got?
Free campaign.
The fuck do you got? You got
Where they're
some
putting
weed?
it on the media. They're having people go to schools and visit people and tell young children why it's dangerous to bring knives to school. So London is a perfect example because it just tells me that it's not the tool that the person uses to kill someone or perpetrate harm.
Right.
It's the person and it's the people. It's Sadiq Khan's going into the cities and literally stopping gang members and taking knives away from them or machetes and things like that. I mean, you would see that mostly gang members to gun violence.
Stop stabbings on the daggone bus.
So I mean, if it's with mostly illegally obtained firearms purchased on the street, you would concede that.
That's not true. No.
Well, even Michael Bloomberg would say that. Even Joe Scarborough has said that over 90% of all shootings, of all crimes in the US, statistics have been illegally obtained on the street.
They might say that, but that's not true.
That is true.
How do you know it's not true?
It's not true because it comes from the
20 obtained firearms.
Sure. So that comes from a 2016 report that the Bureau of Justice Statistics did, and it's oftentimes miscited. The reality is that 90% of guns that are used to commit crimes aren't purchased from a retail source, but only about 43% of those are illegally obtained on the black market. 20% of those are obtained from family members or other sources where they have been legally acquired. For instance, in Chicago, I think 60% of firearms can be traced back to legally acquired gun shops that are just outside the city.
Right. So I understand what you're saying. You're saying originally the gun's always purchased legally, but is it illegal in Chicago, for instance? Is it illegal to transfer a firearm from Indiana to Chicago? Is that against the law?
Not necessarily. It depends on how the sale is done from one private person to another. This is what liberals
in the
complain
city
about
of
all the time.
Chicago. It is illegal to transfer a weapon and bring it to Chicago.
Lying about laws.
Without going to a gun shop and making in the city of Chicago.
Sure,
That's
in the
a
city of
free
Chicago,
shop.
but you can transfer firearms from one person to another without having to do like having a federal license or doing some
You
sort
don't
of
need the license, but it has to be in
What
a
if you're
shop.
going to Chicago?
You need a witness.
That's breaking the law. You're bringing the gun into the city of Chicago from Indiana. That's breaking the law. Criminals don't follow laws. That's my point.
But all of these guns are sourced.
And then the gang members buy it from other gang members on the street.
So if the guns are sourced legally first, I mean, obtaining them illegally after might be a thing, but the statement that 90% of guns are bought and sold on the black market.
Dude, we know because we get shot at by the guns that you talk about.
All these guns are being purchased.
So,
There are quite a few that
that's
are
what
purchased illegally.
I guess that's where I do get angry.
90% is
Why is it hard to?
I've been
believe,
shot at before, but by an illegal gun. I ain't get shot at by somebody with a legal gun and legally up. You gotta be out your fucking mind.
Because we have
Police don't give a shit about your legal guns. They're worried about the illegal guns.
They're
You
selling
wanna,
them in the urban
you want
areas,
to,
especially.
duh.
In Chicago,
The phrase taking guns off the streets means
illegal
illegal guns.
Period.
Period.
The guns are
Johnny from next door doing the AK-47.
To bring it
he's
from
in the
out of
blood
the city
gang.
to Chicago, you already
He
breaking
is
the law. So why
kill
would
anyone.
more laws stop that from happening? In my
But
personal opinion, you're just restricting
the
the people
citizen
who like to follow
whoever,
laws
you know, could
having an
himself.
from having an easy time
So,
of purchasing
similar
a
to
weapon
that
for their
weapon.
leisure or whatever the case may
will
be.
get the same.
I mean, you said
repercussions
something during
if
the
you look
Joe
at
Biggs
him
debate.
as a criminal.
You said, "quote The United States has more violent
The
gun
way
crime
you
than
look
any
at
other
the-
country in the world right now." You still believe that to be true?
Compared to Western countries, I believe that's true.
But you said in any other country
Yeah,
in the
that's
world
probably
right now.
not true. If you want to go to a place like Honduras or something, I'm sure
Honduras,
they're more violent. Typically for the
Venezuela.
United States, I try not to compare ourselves to countries like Honduras or Venezuela.
Why?
Because I think we should probably shoot to be a little bit higher than that, no pun intended.
Is that like a race thing or?
Definitely.
Maybe
is.
race.
I
Do
don't
you
know.
think that a country
Why
like
is
Honduras or
unintended?
Venezuela should be what we aim to be
Well,
slightly better than?
Brazil. Brazil has higher gun violence than we do
Sure.
here.
How about countries like France or Germany or the United Kingdom or?
Well, I mean, if you want to look
European
at
countries.
France and Germany and the United Kingdom, it says, according to the FBI here, if you want to compare us to those countries, you have to go into the statistics. According to the FBI here, this is from the FBI's website, we have 33,000 violent street gangs here in America.
1,000.
Per 100,000.
Gangs.
30,000 in America.
Gangs. Not
Versus
human beings.
all of Europe, which has 0.674 per 100,000 gangs to people. So we have many more gangs, many more thousands of gangs to people here than any of those other
That's what
developed
the white
countries
mind forgets.
do.
Well,
So you've
innocent
already
mind.
conceded that
It's not
most
even
of
white.
the shootings in
The
America
innocence of your
are
mind.
perpetrated by.
Utopia in your brain that
So why
tells you
wouldn't you concede that this is the
that it's
reason
not a
we have
murder
high
next door?
violence here in this country? And it's not even close.
utopia in your brain.
I mean, it might be the reason, but you can take a multifaceted approach to these problems. If anything, I could argue you're making my point for me. If there are so many good gangs in the United States, maybe we should restrict access to firearms more as a result of that.
Gangs don't want legal guns,
Once
dumb
follow
bitch.
law. For instance, I just
I'm a
went to Las
gangster.
Vegas.
I'm a want the
They have
most
a large outdoor
illegal
shop.
guy there is.
Right there. It's Silverton Casino, I believe it is. Now they have very cheap ammunition. I mean, we're talking like $7 for a 50-round box of 9mm ammo. I would love to be able to purchase that ammo and bring it home with me for my leisure here, but I can't. That's a felony in California to be able to transfer ammunition from Las Vegas to here. So I followed the law. Gang members aren't going to do that. You've already said that they're bringing guns that whatever they purchase in Indiana.
Right.
And then into the city of Chicago, which is already breaking the law. So my thing is this is the Second Amendment rights in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
We should be trying, it's more important to protect gun rights than it is to control gun ownership, in my personal opinion. And I think we have to do that without sacrificing people's rights. I think we have to find
you got a
a
whole
way
block
to
and
be
you
able
over there
to
trying to
gang
restrict
violence in
gun
this
laws.
country. However that may be, because
How
there's
you own a
many
gun?
illegally obtained
Trying to
guns
restrict that.
flowing around in Chicago. It's a trafficking issue. And so we have to find a way to get those guns off the street, which they're already illegally obtained. They're already illegally possessed. So we have to find a way to do that. I don't know how to
I
do
want
that.
to restrict
the best
a
approach
legal
to
gun.
that. And I don't know if
Somebody
you
got
have any
my
suggestions either,
little
but that
brother's
would be
legal gun out of his
Probably
hands.
the
He would
ability
have
to
never murdered
purchase
someone.
firearms legally would
Yes.
reduce the amount of people that can purchase a firearm legally, means they're less likely to give it to a friend or another gang member. That's one thing. Gun buyback programs have been proposed in several areas and have been done with varying levels of success across different. Bring up the UK as an example. They have one of the lowest firearm homicide rates in the world. Now they do kill people with knives as well, which is a problem that they're dealing with. But
But don't we care about the lives?
Of course. But
Then why don't we focus on what's killing lives more?
Multifaceted problem.
Not
Let me ask, why did the founding fathers
you see what I'm
make
saying?
the Second Amendment?
Well, you got a
I think
Glock
they're
and a most.
to me. You're asking me.
And
I
a
think
gun.
they're at that time.
Get
It
the
was
fuck outta
because
here.
of
You sniping anybody in your sight. You got the
remaining sovereign
nerves.
and things like that.
Why do you think they made this? The founding fathers made the Second Amendment.
To be a
I'm
sovereign
that's
citizen.
true. I don't think it was initially envisioned as a way to protect yourself from like a criminal or a burglar, but I think
Right.
it had more to do with arming citizens.
Are you concerned about government tyranny?
No, I think that concept is a little antiquated at this point.
Why do you think that?
Because we live in a different day and age. The idea of like a full-scale revolt against the government or whatever just seems unlikely or unwieldy.
But why do you think, even under Barack Obama, the
Mhm.
Father Messiah, they try so hard to disarm the good folks, people who keep the law? Because when you create these laws, the innocent people are the ones who are punished for them, not the criminals.
Well, it seems like greater access to firearms end up punishing the more innocent people anyways. For instance, in every state where they've expanded right to carry laws, you've seen like an uptick in violence by like 12 to 15%. In places where firearms become more easily accessible to families, children are more likely to kill themselves with firearms. And just having a firearm in your house makes you much more likely to kill yourself with it.
And you got one. So what the fuck are you saying?
I don't believe that to be true.
Right, that's all bullshit.
It's not my fault that someone in their home is not
Mentally.
sober-minded enough to
Right.
do the right thing with their gun. I shouldn't have to be punished for that.
But you are anyway, whether you want to be or not.
But I shouldn't be. It's
But
wrong
you
for the
are.
government.
If somebody
Yeah,
kills
but you
themselves,
are.
and they leave a
But you
child that has to
are.
be taken care of,
I'm
you're
not
gonna
gonna be
put you on
punished.
taxes. If somebody injures
Fuck
themselves
you.
and they have to go to the hospital,
And
you're
go
gonna
to
be paying
go
for it.
go to your house. Good
Are
night.
you talking for the idea you want to abolish the federal government and all taxation, or
Smaller government, yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not where I'm at, but
I just have to. You said that places with concealed carry laws, you see an uptick in violence.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, we're looking at this is New Hampshire, Maine, North
It's like
Dakota,
they-
Idaho, Vermont, Wyoming, all have permitless concealed carry. You can carry a weapon.
It's like the
without
whip that can't fight back. Start
and their
trying to
homicide rate
force
is below
power
3
on
per
the
100,000.
world.
In New Hampshire, for instance, it's
Because
1
you're a bitch and you
per
can't
100,000.
fight. Doesn't
And these
mean
all of these 6
make
states
everybody
have permitless
unable to
concealed carry.
protect themselves.
These are the homicide rates.
sure. So
Fuck
two
you.
things. One is the homicide rate and the percent white. I have no idea why those would ever be on the same graph.
Well,
they're not
because if you
comparable
look at
figures.
the other states with permitless
Sure,
concealed
I
carry,
understand. I'm
it's
just saying that those two numbers probably don't belong on the same graph like that. Firstly, secondly, that graph doesn't tell you whether or not the homicide rate increased once right to carry laws were introduced.
I'm not saying that it does. I'm just saying that I'm just trying to touch on because you said that concealed carry laws increase violent crime, and I'm just trying to tell you that it obviously doesn't.
That is bullshit.
But
I'm not
an
saying that it
increase, sure.
decreases
Well,
it,
but an
but
increase is a comparison from one point in time to the next, and that graph is only showing you a
this
certain
has been
point in time.
consistent over the past 20 years. They've had the same homicide rate for
All 5 of those states
all
homicide
6
rates.
of these states. Homicide
Okay. Well,
rates
the
have been
meta-analysis
just about
that
the
I am
same.
familiar with have gone into this and dug through it and analyzed it, show that there's like a 12 to 15% uptick in
Except for
crime.
the 90s. I mean, in the 1990s, crime across the Western world, which still many people can't explain why,
Rose, period.
in all Western countries, crime in the 1990s was higher.
Where did you
Skyrocket.
get your stats from?
That's because the
I mean, I can
gangs
pull out the
ruled
source, but I
the
mean, it seems to be not very well
Once the
debated.
gangs
that
died in the
increase in
90s
right to
and
carry
they lost
laws
control
have
with the
caused an uptick in
Dons.
violence.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Then it
they
went
don't-
to the streets.
I don't
and
say
guns
I'm
ran
saying, I'm
rampant.
saying it's right to carry, concealed carry, criminal
Gangs
concealed carry, constitutional carry, whatever you want to
Even
call it,
promoted
does not
legal carry
increase
in the
violence.
90s. That's the reason why.
It not.
I understand what you're saying, but that graph doesn't say that.
It does say that. It says
Pause. Let me revamp that.
What if it's 1.64?
Gangs.
What if it's 1.64?
Black
well, there's New
Panthers
Hampshire at 1 per 100,000.
What if it was
promoted
1.5 before?
This has
legal
been consistent over the
But
past
your
concealed
graph doesn't
carry.
demonstrate that.
open carry.
And we
show
can,
you
and there's a
additional
very
statistics on that.
easy.
But I'm just saying,
there's also a very
Guns.
easy correlation with the more lax a state is with their gun laws, whether or not you need a permit to conceal carry, whether or not you need a permit to buy certain firearms. The more lax a state is, the more likely you are to die in that state due to a firearm as well. It's pretty easily observed.
I mean, that's strange because it looks like you're more likely to die in a place like Chicago, for instance, than New Hampshire or Maine or Idaho.
Thank
or
you.
Any of these other
Thank
states.
you. Why don't you go to Chicago and let
You
us
are.
take
They
you?
have higher homicide rates.
That's, I want to take you to a place where
Look
you
at a
can
state
die.
like Alaska. I'm pretty sure it has one of the biggest homicide, or not homicide, it's one of the biggest firearm-related deaths in
Yeah,
the world.
I've
due
been
to
through
suicide.
statistics of Anchorage on my channel, and you can see the violence in Anchorage ticks that up. The violence in Anchorage, Alaska, the gang violence in Anchorage, Alaska in particular, takes that up. It's the same thing with like Arkansas. Arkansas also has.
Alaska only got 3 shirts.
places like Little Rock, Arkansas, that's what's carrying most of the homicide for the entire state. If you take out Little Rock, Arkansas, then you're left with a homicide rate that is very similar to New Hampshire, Maine, Idaho, and some of these other concealed.
But that doesn't change anything I've said other than trying to shoo the violence off onto certain groups of people. We can't just remove these people from our country.
I never advocated for removing anyone from our country. What I'm saying is, if most of the violence is caused by gang members and people who shouldn't have guns in the first place, who are transferring guns illegally from Indiana to Chicago, for instance, which
thousands of
many of these guns are already flowing around in Chicago. If we say millions, these are illegally obtained firearms flowing around in Chicago, then we should find a way to go after the people who are illegally possessing their weapons instead of hindering people who are legally possessing their weapons from obtaining additional ammunition. For instance, there's a new law trying to be passed in California and Connecticut. They're trying to add an additional 50% tax on ammunition. I mean, does that sound like it's going to decrease gun violence to you? These are ridiculous proposals. I mean, that policy, they've all tried in London and they're still having problems.
Sure. So that the policy of increasing the cost of ammunition doesn't really sound like it would do much to me. That sounds like a pretty stupid policy. But perhaps making it more difficult to acquire a firearm legally in Indiana would reduce the likelihood of a firearm being given to somebody and then travel illegally to Chicago to commit a crime.
Well, I guess here's my question. Why is Vermont not making New York as dangerous as Chicago? If your theory is correct, that because you can purchase weapons so easily in Indiana and then illegally transfer them from Indiana to Chicago, why is Vermont not making New York as dangerous as Chicago?
It's possible that the populations of places like Vermont aren't as predisposed towards committing crime as other populations are.
And what about Idaho? Idaho
probably similar. That would be my guess. There are certain spots in the United States where violent crime happens more often.
Let me ask you this. Nowadays, we can't trust the statistics about gun laws that coming from liberals, children of the lie, because they want to take away your rights to bear arms. Why would you trust any reports that they're putting out? Because they're not going to tell the truth. They're children of the lie.
I mean, you have to go by what the official. I mean, if you think that like the entire DOJ is lying to you about gun crimes or gun statistics, I don't know how you would begin to have a reasonable conversation with somebody at that point. You just be talking about how both of your, I guess, feelings are.
Well, you know how corrupt they are today.
I'm not aware of
over and over again with the Great White Hope being in the White House. But would you want?
Hey, White Hope.
Possibly, I don't know.
You will want to.
I don't want me to get started.
I mean, yeah, if you could demonstrate that it would seriously curb the amount of, I guess, lives lost in the United States, it might be worth considering.
That's amazing. Would you want to repeal the Second Amendment?
No, because I've seen what happened in London when they took away all their firearms there, and they're having a very big issue there right now with knives.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I think I want to say in 2015, their knife crime per capita was the lowest it had been since 1989. But then over the past couple of years, there's been an uptick in some knife violence. But
here's from the Guardian:
some knife violence.
Ban.
Yeah, police getting killed with knives.
Let's say theoretically, let's say that they do.
Let's say now you want to put theories.
What would be your
opposition? Facts. You're dumb.
I think it's ridiculous to go after the tool that someone uses to kill someone. Then we'll have to. I mean, if we would really have to, because the left, the policies by like the Democratic Party, and things like that. The policies are to go after the AR-15, which makes for about 30 deaths.
Sure, I'm not going to make AR-15s are scary. I'm not going to make any arguments against them here because they account for a ridiculously low number of deaths in the U.S.
So, but why does the Democratic Party want to only target the AR-15?
Because most Democrats have never touched a gun in their entire lives, and the AR-15 looks.
I would say most politicians in general, but yes.
Yeah. Democrats are
right. You have.
Most people are.
And we can get shot with one and live.
Because people use them to fight.
Fuck, shoot me in the gut. I won't die.
Oh my God! Here's the Guardian. All secondary schools in London
might get close. I might do. Who knows if
I'm not really understanding what the
shoot me.
The point is,
graze my spinal cord. I might
having a knife sector.
What I'm saying is,
do you think this is bad or?
Well, what I'm saying, there's the knife bin, knife turn police, knife amnesty. What I'm saying is they instituted this handgun ban in England and Wales. 1997, I believe it was 1996.
96, yeah.
And their homicide rate did a nice uptick there.
There's like 186 deaths that were like tallied on due to a pretty extreme event in I think 2002 or 2004.
But now they're trying to ban knives, is what I'm saying.
I mean, they're trying to ban all knives.
After
It sounded like it
murder
was
rate
more.
surpasses New York City, London Mayor Sadiq Khan calls for sharper knife control. So they already started their gun control. Now their homicide rates surpass New York City. Now they're trying knife control. And as a matter of fact, Sadiq Khan is even trying to ban cars from driving in certain areas. So
Should they ban knives?
So my primary drive would be to reduce the number of people that are killed.
You ban knives?
That's my primary drive.
You
So
just
banning
asked you a
knives,
direct question.
banning the types of
Would you
violent
ban
acts or
knives?
crimes would achieve that end. Then yeah, sure.
In England or Europe, the Allah people are killing people now with cars and trucks and things. Should they ban cars and
I
trucks?
don't think that many people are getting killed by cars.
Yeah,
they're
they're trying to ban cars from driving in certain areas. I mean,
Oh, they
the
are?
amount of
I mean, cars
I'd
are
like
already
to
banned
stand.
from driving in certain areas. It's a very vague statement. I mean, you can't
It's
drive
not-
cars on
but it's
sidewalks. for
It's not. I think that though that is really comparing apples to oranges. Though I mean, I would say that if we just stick on the gun crime, as far as like the gun crime goes in certain areas, like you said that
The
if
past
you had to
30 minutes, we were
correct
talking about knife crime.
you had to. Well, what I'm saying is they banned handguns, and now they're still having a homicide rate that is very, very high. They just surpassed New York City, which has 900,000 legally owned guns.
100.
And they're still having the same issue. Now they're putting metal detectors in public schools, elementary school. They're sending people out there to talk to children about carrying a knife.
You
What
still
they're
haven't
saying is-
demonstrated why any of this is a bad thing.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm saying they just keep going after the tools that they use. Let's say that they ban all knives. They start having knife amnesty. They start running up into people's houses and grabbing their knives and machetes or whatever sharp object that they are killing people with. You're still going to have the same issue. People in gangs killing each other that are in other gangs. And they're going to be doing that with bats and chains or whatever else they can get their hands on. London demonstrates that perfectly. And I want to touch on something else that you said during the Joe
real
Biggs
quick,
debate.
onto that
Go ahead.
point, the whole point of using a tool to kill somebody is that the tool works as a form of force amplification, right? I would kill somebody or multiple people that I wouldn't otherwise be able to with a firearm because I can't do it without a firearm. A knife is a similar.
You
right?
say that. I could
Kill
kill
one
you
person
without
with a knife, you wouldn't be able to.
but it wouldn't be
There are certain groups
the
of people that
same
are more predisposed
way
towards committing violent acts than
scientific.
other groups.
Say that.
Removing
Don't
force
say,
amplification from those
oh,
people
you
seems like it
you wouldn't be able to
teaches
do
them
it
how
otherwise.
they're going to kill each other with bats or chains or whatever else. Yeah, I'm
Find
sure
something
that number is
to do.
probably going to be lower than it was with knives because it's harder to kill somebody with a bat or a chain than it is with a knife. And it's harder
Who
to kill somebody
says
with a knife
that?
than it is with a firearm, or at least
It's
more
not
people.
harder, nigga.
I wanna
You
touch
hit somebody with a
something
bat,
else
you
you
knock them out,
said.
and you smash their
Gun
brain with the
buyback
second
programs
or third hit.
have been
Those are 3
successful.
strikes.
Quote,
They're dead.
your words.
Me,
Homicide rate in
it only
Australia
takes 2.
decreased because of
Knock
that.
you
They
out
didn't
with the
suffer
first
any
one,
more
and
mass
smash your skull with the second one.
In
You
Australia,
got
I
to
believe-
accurately shoot
So if we go
somebody and
to
make sure
Australia,
you don't miss.
and we look at the
That's a
period
big
prior
difference.
to the gun buyback program.
That's a
you
big
consider zero
difference.
mass shootings that have happened. During this time,
Big
There
difference.
was 4, and then after that time, there was none. So if we look at Australia, we look at the homicide rate of Australia per 100,000. You can see that in red here, this is America. This is according to the AIC, their government statistics in Australia. And America's homicide rate in red, Australia's homicide rate in blue. And since the 1996 gun buyback program from 1996 to 2001, their homicide rate per 100,000 remained virtually the same. As a matter of fact, it went from 1.6 to 1.8 in a 6-year period, whereas our homicide rate here in America with no gun amnesty, no gun buyback program, decreased from 7.4 per 100,000 to 5.5 per 100,000. So we had a larger homicide per 100,000 rate decrease in America than they did in Australia with their gun buyback program. So I don't believe it was actually successful. Not to mention, after the Port Arthur massacre in Australia, Australia now has more legally owned guns in Australia than they did before the 1996 Port Arthur massacre. So I don't believe that those two things are relatable. I think that there were no mass shootings in Australia before. There was 2, and then they had this gun buyback program, which wasn't targeted at all guns, by the way. It was only certain types of weapons there. And they went back to the same level that they had of mass shootings than they did before. And the guy who committed the mass shooting, by the way, was a deranged lunatic. I believe they said, and they reported on this.
Before we move back, I'm curious,
Go ahead.
did you create that graph or did somebody create it for you?
This is I created this based on the AIC statistics, crime stats, AIC.gov. You can go to that link.
I've been to the link. I'm curious why you ended at 2001. You took a 5-year period here and tried to establish a trend.
Because from the 1990s, like I've said before, many different intellectuals have discussed the crime in the 1990s being higher in every Western country, being high for some reason. They don't know why, but in every Western country, crime was higher in the 1990s. So
mobsters.
The gun amnesty program.
The mob ruled shit in the 90s. Before the mob got busted, they didn't rule the shit. Understand what I'm talking about? Oh, you fucking loon.
Increase in crime in the 1990s in that decade.
Because it's very low from
Don't
the 60s.
be a fucking schmuck.
No, actually, since the 1960s, violent crime has increased about 3 times.
What the fuck are you?
Well, wait, hold on. I'm very curious on this graph, real quick, just because I'm very familiar with these numbers. I'm very curious why you did a 5-year here instead
because
of going
the gun amnesty only lasted 6 weeks in Australia. You would assume that you would see an immediate effect.
Not necessarily.
Why not?
Firstly, because there were other programs that were implemented afterwards, different types of gun buybacks and whatnot. And if you follow that graph,
and we can see a larger decrease in America. We went from 7.4.
But I'm pretty sure that's not true because if you go like 5 years out on the Australia side there, I'm pretty sure that the homicide rate drops to like a 1.1.
What I'm trying to say is that the gun amnesty was pretty much immediate. It was a 6-week period of gun amnesty, is what they call a gun amnesty over there, which is a weird name for it, but gun buyback program. And so you would expect the results to be immediate. What I'm arguing is that in a 6-year period, their homicide rate actually went from 1.6 to 1.8. It's probably lower now. It's probably somewhere around like 1.5 per 100,000 or something like that. But we saw a larger decrease per 100,000 in homicides in America since that 1996 period. Now, if we go all the way back to the 1950s, violent crime, and this is one of the quotes that you said in the Joe Biggs debate, which is actually statistically incorrect. You said that violent crime is lower than it was in the 1960s. That's not true.
Yeah, I think I'm looking more towards the 80s. Is what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, because in the 1960s, we had rape per 100,000, assault per 100,000, robbery per 100,000, and many other types of violent crime, aside from murder, were 3 times less per 100,000. The reason why your mother and your father will always like to say that we could leave our doors unlocked and stuff like that, things that boomers say. But anyway.
Are you for gun buyback or not?
I mean, if it's been demonstrated,
Things that my grandmother
the consensus around Australia was
they still have the habits of
largely
putting
successful,
keys on the
and their violent
doorstep.
crime has dropped quite a bit. Maybe
You
not
can't
immediately,
do that
like 4 or 5 years afterwards.
Will rob your house.
Amazing. What would you make any changes in the gun laws in America?
Because of the way that America's shifting right now, I would concede that probably background at the very least. I mean, I'm completely okay with the DROS program that our state has. Like Orange County, it's very easy for me to be able to purchase a weapon. I don't like the fact that they have made the AR-15s in this state where you have to break them open at the top to be able to retrieve the magazine. I think all those things are stupid. I think our politicians, and this touches on what Destiny says, most of our politicians probably never touched a gun in their entire life, and they don't understand.
That's right.
I think that these things are just ridiculous, and they're a hindrance, and I'm really upset about these things. Adding 50% of tax onto ammunition, not allowing me to go to Bass Pro Shops in Las Vegas and bring home boxes of ammo that I can take to the range and have fun with. I think that it's ridiculous. And the fact that our politicians care more about 30 deaths a year by AR-15s than they do the thousands of homicides that criminal aliens commit is mind-boggling.
Would you make changes in the gun laws in America?
Yeah, I think giving the ATF more teeth would probably be better for them to actually have a real database to manage the purchase and sale and flow of firearms to the country. Would probably be positive.
Fuck you.
Enabling the CDC to study gun violence more. I think they were
Fuck you.
The study would probably be benefit as well, so we get a better answers on how to curb gun violence in the U.S.
That's amazing. I'm not for the background check
Me.
because I don't trust the people who's getting the information. Because if they can get the information on you and know you have guns in your home, how many you have, how can you trust those people? They can't be trustworthy.
I mean, especially like if the FBI and NSA really wants to know, they probably have ways of finding that out anyway.
But see,
But they can't act on it because they have rights. You dumb bitch.
You can't
That's the
trust
big
government.
difference.
You also can't trust crazy people with guns. So, I mean,
That's why I want to have my own guns so that.
yeah, but
I'm not
demonstrably
worried
that
about
doesn't seem to be true. Like the myth of the self-defense handgun doesn't.
What
seem
the
to be
fuck
borne
is
out
up with you
anymore.
in this myth
Just
shit?
owning the firearm doesn't make you safe.
Bitch, ain't nobody ever come and rob me. They will never try to come and rob me. No, I'm strapped. It's that
I don't
simple.
know if you're aware of the
You're a bitch. And it's that simple.
2013. Aware of that study?
What about it?
Well, Barack Obama authorized the CDC to do the largest study into gun violence. You aware of the statistics that came out of that study?
Not maybe. I don't remember. If I
Oh,
read
this
the
is out of Forbes magazine.
Oh, Oh,
the writer says, quoting the CDC research, almost all national survey estimates indicate that defensive gun uses by victims are at least as common as offensive gun uses by criminals, with estimates of annual uses ranging from about 500,000 to more than 3 million in the context of about 300,000 violent crimes involving firearms in 2008. So if we turn this into a graph here out of the CDC, we're looking at the high number, and I realize this is the high number, 3 million defensive gun uses per year versus 200,000 offensive gun uses per year, according to the study that the CDC did in 2013. And this is the same exact year that Barack Obama changed the definition of a mass shooting to 3 or more people killed during that mass shooting. So you can research this for yourself. I'm not asking.
Yeah, that is. It has no bearing on what I said, though. Having a self-defense handgun doesn't necessarily, just because more of them.
You're right back.
Yeah.
Money is on digital. So all you got to do is type in a number and you have that. And you actually have that money there. And it's just a number typed in. That doesn't mean it's there. And seeing how Lord, I'm trying to tell you. I'm watching some real stuff right now, boy. Listening to a Marine, getting a story from a Marine about how he was in Libya, and his father's from Libya. I mean, his father lived in Libya for over a year. But it's a regular, what we would call a black person. You know what I'm saying? Got parents from overseas, from Africa. Mommy, Africa. But yeah, parents from Africa, you know what I'm saying? And a Marine. You see all the mess. You see all the BS. That's so it's never been good. Like that. Fade away. Lose your mind first. Yeah. I'm about to have some monster shit. I ain't get no tip, man. As hungry as I be. I swear. Where they go? Where we at?
And gender dysphoria is mental.
Right. And we about to get it in. We about
Black people were brought over.
Oh, he got the nerve to talk about us. He got the nerve to talk about us.
Over 200, 250 years ago on slave ships from their homes to the United States to live here.
You going off of Kunta Kinte stuff?
Legalized segregation.
Fuck out of here, man.
60, 70 years, we're kind of starting to right the ship. Asian Americans, a lot of them actually.
Some people come from
this is a
people who are already here. Dumb bitch.
Because they have
So I ain't had to be brought over no more. I was already here. Everybody ain't come to this shit.
I'm just saying there's massive
Those people that was brown as a motherfucker. Already here.
It's a very complicated question. It's not complicated.
And they were
So
split through your head.
London didn't have Jim Crow.
You understand me?
London didn't have Jim Crow laws.
I mean, like, if they,
stabbing
I
each
can
other
only
with
si-
knives?
I can only side with the majority of the
Lying to
community
yourself.
that's incredibly uncomfortable making the assertion that biology is the reason why certain groups of people are more violent than other groups.
Yeah, that academic community is the same academic community that got Brown University to delete a study on rapid onset gender dysphoria because it might hurt someone's feelings.
Right.
This is the same academic community that props up gender dysphoria as something cool to be nowadays.
I don't think
completely
any-
denying
so-
science. This is
Okay,
a science
well,
denial.
no, and first
That
of
there
all-
are biological differences between men and women. You have
So,
people
firstly,
who are on your side of the
when you
aisle
talk
who
about
walk off
firstly-
the stage.
Okay, so firstly, if we want to deny academic research or academic literature, we can only engage in conspiracy theory. Thing I'm not interested in doing. I can only go by what the literature says. Secondly, if you want to talk about science
I
denial,
only go by what the literature
sure.
says.
And if you want to go by science denial, I mean, the APA has made pretty clear statements regarding transgender individuals or gender dysphoria. These aren't fantastical things. They might make conservatives uncomfortable, but just because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean the science
The
isn't real.
APA, once within their study on gender dysphoria, said it was a mental condition.
Gender dysphoria is considered a mental condition.
So why are we propping up a mental condition?
We don't prop up a mental condition.
Why
We try
are we
to
not trying
alleviate.
to help these
we
people
do
with
try
the
to help
highest
them.
suicide
We
rates
do try
and
to
not
help
say
them.
that it's okay to
So we do try to help them. And the number one way that the APA suggests to relieve gender dysphoria is through things like hormone therapy, sex reassignment surgery.
I would say that that's probably not the best. There's mothers who are crying.
I can
because
only
their-
point to
their
what the
teenage
literature says
daughters
because
are at home
I can.
with their breasts chopped off and their ovaries
So
removed.
nobody chops off their breast randomly, and that's
Okay,
not
yeah,
how sex
these
reassignment
teenage
surgery
daughters
works.
are coming home.
They don't. It's not happening. This is
I gotta ask,
This
fantastical.
is absolutely happening. These are mothers who have
We'll have you
told their
guys
stories.
back about this.
Well, I mean, like the
Let me ask
outcomes
you
are
this.
very clear that sex reassignment surgery and hormone therapy produces
think-
largely
Why
positive
are we
results for.
propping this up in our
Do you
culture?
think that
in our media, in
transgenders
Hollywood,
and all
if it's the highest, if they have the highest suicide rate of any community,
That
why are we
decreases once they've experienced sex reassignment surgery or hormone therapy.
Okay,
This
guys,
is anyway.
let me do this.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. I don't even know how we got onto this
Right,
particular
right.
subject.
Because
This
you brought
subject-
us here. You
I
by
got
the
it.
academic.
I have you back about that, but let me ask you this. You're a gamer, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
And games mean that gamer mean you sit around all day playing on the computer thing, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
How old are you?
30 years old.
So how do you reconcile or deal with the fact that games are very violent, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that a little problematic for
No,
you?
that doesn't. There's no.
Is that an issue?
That's Joe. That
I've
Don't they
never
be
seen any.
shooting? I don't
I don't
play
think it's
this,
supported anywhere that the idea that violent video games are predictors of violent behavior for children. I've never seen that.
Do you play games too?
I play games with my children. Sometimes I play video games, but
But
there's
don't they have a
no.
lot of violence in those games? Like
Yeah, but I
shooting
don't
and killing?
agree. I don't think that. I don't think that that's going to cause someone to go kill
Oh.
someone.
But my question is, how are you able, Destiny, to be shooting and killing on the games, but you don't want to do it in real life if you had to?
Well, he did
I never
he
say-
did pull a gun out on stream once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we've talked about guns on stream before, yeah.
No,
Oh.
but you thought someone was breaking into your home, didn't you?
It's possible. I don't remember. This
Okay.
might have happened.
And
one
you
time,
pull your
but
gun out?
Well, that's what he's supposed to do.
I'm not sure. I don't know. We talk
Wow.
about guns a lot on stream, yeah, but no, I've never killed anyone before.
So you don't want to ban certain types of weapons.
Um,
Because I heard you say that before. You said that you don't think that that's doing.
I mean, like the obsession over AR-15s is very dumbfounded. It's very stupid.
So you do okay. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. I think that it's mostly politicians in general, on both.
Sure. And the restrictions that are on AR-15s here are very stupid.
They're stupid. Have you seen the?
I've shot with them with the weird
Yeah, it's
clanky
I gotta ask
bullshit
this.
shit. Yeah.
Illegal aliens are bringing in truckloads of guns and drugs and all this thing, and these things are ended up in the black communities.
I don't know if illegals are bringing on. I mean, we
Yeah,
sell
they
plenty of
are.
guns
No,
legally
they're
here.
bringing
I mean, there's
stuff.
tons of firearms
But
we can
my
just buy in the
question
United
is,
States.
Are you?
You don't know how to get
Are
you.
you
It's
for
okay.
putting up a big, beautiful wall around the border?
It's
Because if
your
you did,
fault.
that would
You're
stop a lot of.
You're white.
I don't think that
Why?
would stop a lot of the guns. A lot of
You
these
don't know no
guns come via-
MS-13 gang
Not for
members.
the wall.
A lot of these guns
Dude.
come via Port of Mexico,
I
I
did.
know, but the ones
No
that are
one.
coming across illegally without the wall,
Man,
man,
I
are you
work
for
with
putting
this
up the wall?
dumbass.
and
I got
stopping
his
that?
I
number.
don't think the wall would help much.
Are you for the wall?
Facebook.
What, are you?
I am for the wall. Yeah,
And do you
the
believe that-
statistics show that the wall in Hungary is 99.9% effective. The wall.
I
in
would
Israel-
never tell you
Borders
this.
are far, far,
You're not
far
gonna see
smaller
my
than
head
150
hanging.
minutes.
Why do you think normal.
Right. Well, I mean, we're not talking about a wall around the. There's many natural barriers where we don't need a wall or a barrier in place.
Why do you think
chop your head off, chop your fingers off.
Regular, I mean, just human
Chop your
beings
body
don't
parts
have the
up,
common sense to
or-
know that a wall works.
I think that I don't know. I mean, I break with many people who are supposed to be on my side ideologically too on many different issues. So I think that a lot of
But a
people are just
wall
very
is just
tribal.
impractical.
Well, I know. I think that some people are tribal. I don't know. I think that
Why do you think-
maybe they do agree. I mean, this is something even Chuck Schumer said under the Barack Obama administration. He said in 2001 we were able to, build a barrier around our southern border, which drastically will reduce, people coming over here illegally. Chuck Schumer is, and now he's talking something completely different now that Trump's in office. So
Right.
it's just a tribal.
Why do you think regular human beings don't have sense enough to know that a wall works?
I think a regular
So-
human being, the sense is that it would work, but it's when you dig into a little bit more and you apply a little bit of critical
It's
thinking, you
against
realize.
Trump.
What?
They're just
Well,
against
no, it's because
the
I
Great
mean,
White Hope.
like the majority of people that
They
are
just hate the
illegally,
Great White Hope, right?
no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wall is a highly impractical idea. I mean, like most of our huge seizures, I think, was it like the largest seizure? I want to say it was fentanyl-related drugs just happened at a port of entry, like within the past couple of weeks, I think. I remember it was fentanyl or marijuana.
Yeah,
but
mostly the drugs that come over in the
Yeah, are
guns
coming through port of
seized
entry.
through the port of entry.
It's not like people have
However,
fast and furious driving like in the
So out of
desert.
time,
Oh.
I will say this one last
You
thing:
got me by-
487,000 border apprehensions just in 2017 alone.
Amazing. Isn't that amazing?
Sure.
Oh,
Okay.
amazing.
All right,
But-
amazing.
My final question, did you have fun?
I always have fun.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it's fun.
Right on. Do you like him now?
I mean, we
I
disagree a
don't
lot.
know,
really,
but I'm sure outside of
You didn't know he was
politics.
that smart, right?
yeah, we've spoken before.
Oh, you have? Oh, you guys know each other?
Yeah,
Briefly, we talked.
Well, we went like I don't know some other stream or something. I can't remember. It was like a year ago.
Oh, really? It's amazing how smart, white, straight, heterosexual Christian men are.
And Asians
okay.
too, apparently, right?
Thank you guys for coming.
I'm glad that
was
we can all talk about this. I'm glad that you have your show. It's a good show. I'm glad that you have your show and stuff like that. So
fun. And I'm glad you're out there too, man. Aren't you glad he's there?
I like all points of view to be
Well,
represented.
aren't you
Yeah,
happy
I
he's
think-
there?
I think this is a good thing.
I'm not sure. I'd have to dig more into his content. I don't know.
I'm happy you're there.
All right.
Thank you all for tuning in.
You see everyone, yes, I fuck with you. I don't know. Like a snake. I'll have to dig more into your content. Fuck my content. I'm in your face, man. Do you mess with me or not? I'm telling you, the views that I represent. You think I'm investing and not mess with me, or you think otherwise based on my political affiliations and the way I have perspectives on life. That based on you to go on face value.
Homosexual movie Brokeback Mountain, where apparently one of the teachers showed it to the class, and within that movie, there's a homosexual act going on there. These two guys have quote unquote sex together, and the teacher allowed that to show as well, and traumatized at least one of the students for sure. And now the parents have filed a lawsuit for a truckload of money because their child or children were. We should
I'm gonna
not
wait for
have
that.
no anti-Semitism law or black
We'll
Semitism
wait for that
law
one.
or white
Stick to the gun.
Semitism law or Mexican Semitism
Law.
or Japanese.
Japanese.
Yesterday it was reported that there was a shooting at a Jewish church and in New Jersey, I believe.
Japanese.
And they didn't, for a while, they didn't announce the race of the person. Like they would right away. If a white person did it, right away you would know it's white. And they would call it white supremacists killed the Jews, right? But they didn't mention the race of the shooter or that shooter. So I was wondering, oh, it must be black. I'm just wondering to myself, is it black? The reason not saying it must be a black shooter. Must be black. But if it were white, we would know right away, right? Lo and behold, because they were, if it had been Mexican or white, or, you know, they've been out there. Lo and behold, it is being reported that it was done by Black Israelites, the Black people who think they're the Jews. And they're the real ones. Air, I'm doing my air thing, quote unquote air thing. And I'm like, yeah, I knew it. That's a Black Israelite. I just knew it had to be black.
Black
Well,
something.
they thought it was black because they didn't show the person.
Right.
So
it took so long, so you knew it was white. White person, no. White anti-Semites, Nazis.
And believed to be members of the Black Israelite. Here's the soundbite.
Calming, candles and song.
Candles
No
and
starker contrast of yesterday. 4 innocent people were killed in Jersey City yesterday, along with 2 gunmen in a wild, hours-long gun battle with police. In video circulating online, which police confirm is part of the investigation, you see a man exit a van and start shooting into a kosher grocery store on Martin Luther King Drive. The kosher grocery store, with mostly Jewish customers and workers, was not a random target. A larger investigation into what motivated a man and his girlfriend, 4, maybe 5 murders, is the subject of some debate tonight.
Bunk, 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 bunk.
Oh, the man and a woman who's been accused. So that's why the name was Francine. I wonder why was a man named Francine. We do have drag queens, you know. The man looked like those foreign kind of people. Let me see the man again. Doesn't he look like one of those he looked like one of those where Elian Omar come from. Yeah, he looked like a Somali or that kind of person.
Yeah.
He doesn't look
not from here.
right. He doesn't look like a normal American.
It's an asshole country.
Like a real black.
It's a real black.
So here's the motive of the shooters in an ongoing debate.
Much was made today over whether this was a hate crime, an anti-Semitic attack. The state attorney general says he's not sure.
We're standing in front of you telling you that we are conducting additional investigation before we reach any conclusions as to what the motivations were.
The mayor of Jersey City, though, is sure.
There is no question that this is a hate crime and anti-Semitism should be called out aggressively and firmly immediately for what it is.
The mayor looked like
Information on the background as a reporter.
He ain't gonna say yes to that. All crimes are hate crime. Why else would you commit a crime?
Yeah,
you don't commit love crimes. Because even when women kill men and men kill women over relationships with one another, that's a hate crime. They hate one another.
It's not something.
Well, why we got an attorney general look like an Allah person? You know, he ain't. They don't like the Jews anyway. Amazing. Here is the shooter have been identified as members of the Black Hebrew
detectives that I know.
Israelites.
And there were 2 shooters, a man and a woman. The man is a known member of a group called the Black Hebrew Israelite Movement. That group is known to be hostile to Jews.
Investigators are diving into the background of the suspects, 47-year-old David Anderson and 50-year-old Francine Graham. They're also examining their social media.
We know that they posted favorable sentiment on social media towards anti-Semitic groups.
What Francine doing out there with a gun?
Right.
She big too, so
I'm telling you, they shouldn't be Francine. No, Francine, you gotta stay home.
Right.
What is Francine doing out there?
Francine.
50 years old. 50 years old.
50 years old.
And here is the both were.
How's the mother?
That's not how you spell both. I'm black, but I ain't that black. But that's not both. Oh, typo? Okay. You're blaming on the typewriter. Both were wanted in a previous crime.
You
Both were wanted in connection with the weekend murder of Michael Rumberger, a livery driver in Bayonne. In fact, that may be why Detective Joseph Seals confronted them. They shot and killed him in Bayview Cemetery. Minutes later, it's believed they drove a mile to the kosher store and began the rampage, killing 3 innocent people: the store owner's wife, a customer, and a worker. A pain with a piercing ripple effect through the entire tri-state Jewish community.
That's amazing. That's evil, and that's the world. Right. That's what the world looked like. That's the Old Testament, folks. Now, here's what I want to comment on. This is from NBC. Trump signs executive order targeting colleges, college anti-Semitism and Israel boycott.
As we gather this afternoon, our thoughts turn to the grieving families in New Jersey. Yesterday, 2 wicked murderers opened fire at souls, including a brave police officer who faced down the shooter and very bravely faced down the shooter and very bravely faced more right. So this is a very powerful document.
They have executive protection on
amazing.
They have
So
executive
here's
protection
my
on
question.
even
It could be me,
demonstrating.
really, I could be wrong.
That's mob shit.
In America,
You can't
how
even
come we
protest
have
against me.
separate laws for groups of people? When I was growing up, when you broke the law, no matter what color you were or what race or whatever, you broke the law. You're going to jail. And you're going to do the time according to the crime and the law, right? Why we got to have a Jew law, black law, Mexican law, and call them hate crime? All crimes are hate crime. Why? Why don't we make America whole again instead of these separate? Now we have to have Jew people represent the Jewish people represent the Jewish people in government. We got to have the white people represent the white people in government, even though they don't do a good job of it at all. Why can't we just have people represent American people? Where's the wholeness of that? It was like that when I was growing up.
Right.
It didn't matter the race or the color you voted for, the man or the woman you thought was best. At the time, the man you thought best. And another thing, this is what I really want to know. I could be wrong. I'm black and slow. So I can be not just seeing it. Why do we have hate crime laws for everybody but white people? You can kill white people and get away with it. Oh, we got to see if that's a hate crime. We got to investigate to see if it's a hate crime, right? But let a white person kill someone, automatically it's a hate crime. Or is it just me? Maybe I'm just missing something here. I'm black and slow. Why the double standard in the white folks' own country? I'm just saying. Why? Why do we let this happen in this country? Oh, I know. White people gave in. They stopped speaking up. They stopped protesting. They became okay, the okie doke. And now they're paying a price for it. The men who are waking up, you need to take back your government by running for office. Get it voted in and run with the truth. Be honest, don't hate. You can win. We should not have no anti-Semitism law or black Semitism law or white Semitism law or Mexican Semitism law or Japanese. We can just have laws to control the lawless. Trump's daughter, Ivanka, and son-in-law, Jared Kushner, have been pressing him on anti-Semitism in college campuses for the last 3 years. But he shouldn't fall for it. A law, you break this law, you go kill somebody, it doesn't matter who they are. You're going to jail. And if you get caught in around a fire, you dead.
Hey, Jesse, how's it going?
All is well, Alex. How you?
I am doing fine, sir. I just would like you to imagine, can you imagine let's say a Democratic president signing an executive order saying that if you criticize the Allahu Akbar people or Saudi Arabia, let's say, on a college campus, they'll withdraw your federal funding. No one would stand up for that.
So is this new law, are you saying that this new bill that the president just signed, is it saying that you can't even criticize, you can't disagree? Let me bring James in. Because I'm black and slow, and I know a lot of people don't like the Jews. And so you guys may be saying things that I don't understand. I just know that I'm just saying we need to have laws that protect all of us the same in America. And no one has a right to take away your freedom of speech. The executive order, this is James from the Hate Report. The executive order is against, you say, pro-BDS stuff. What does that mean?
So BDS is a movement of people that want to boycott, divest, and sanction against Israel. Especially, usually it's regarding their involvement in like colonizing the Palestinians area. And you know, the Palestinians and Jews and Israel are fighting over the land.
Right.
They're complaining over the land. And so these pro-Palestinian groups, and then there are some whites, I think, who are supportive of this, want to boycott, divest, and sanction against Israel. And I don't even understand, like, how do these colleges even support Israel? I'm confused about that. But they're part of that stuff.
So the president order said that you cannot divest.
Yeah, boycott, divest, and sanctions. BDS.
And sanction against Israel.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people out there who want to do those things.
Right.
The people who hate the Jews, the Palestinians, and others want you not to invest in Israel.
Yeah.
Not to play with them at all.
Right.
Thanks for listening, guys. I'll be back.
That from happening.
That was one of the things.
Well, that's a good thing.
That was included